You're listening to KOKO in Warrensburg. Johnson County Today continues, and I'm going to turn it over to Grant Curtis because do I need to do an introduction here?
No, I need to do one for you. Well, just a little bit of a setup. I was here 2 weeks ago,
right,
and you were kind enough to have me on the radio, and we talked about afterwards coming back. And you know, I'll always come back for you. I don't need a reason.
Okay.
But for personal reasons, for selfish reasons, I floated something by you. And I said, well, I'll come back if I can interview you. And much to my surprise, and I'm still pinching myself to this day, I can't believe you said yes, but you said yes. And I'll be honest with you, sir, I've been on cloud nine ever since. And
Are you kidding me?
I'm going to tell you why. As I was landing, my wife and I flew in last night from Los Angeles, and I was thinking about the honor that this was for me. And here's what it comes down to. If my wife would have blindfolded me and spun me around and drove home, but she would have just toggled through the radio, by the time it hit 1450, I would have known I was home because of your voice. And I realized you weren't on last night at 8 p.m.
Yeah.
But my point is, there's very few people in our lives, when we hear their voice, we know we're home. My parents, my brother when he's in town.
Yeah.
Quite honestly, for my own grandparents, I didn't know two of my grandfathers. They were passed away before I was born, and same with one of my grandmothers. So I can't even say that I've got that relationship or that hometown feel with their voices. But when I hear your voice, I know I'm in Warrensburg, and I know I'm home. And so that's why this has been such an honor. And you asked me if I was on cloud nine since the day I suckered you into this interview. That is why.
Okay.
And that's a special feeling. So,
well, you know what? I guess it goes both ways here. I'm thinking, why does somebody want to interview me?
Yeah. I'll tell you why as we're interviewing you. Your listeners are going to find out, but I promise you, they already know, my friend. They probably wish that they were in my chair right now. So, are you ready?
I'm ready to go for it.
All right.
Go for it.
There is a saying, you have a face for radio. Now, we all know what that means. And for you, that does not apply because you are a handsome man as well, and you have both a face and a voice for other mediums. Why did you choose radio to paint the canvas of your life and the lives of others? Why? What was special about this medium?
I don't know, except the fact that when I was a kid growing up, I was a radio fan. I used to sit by the radio. The closest I got to the radio, the better I liked it. I could sit right there. I remember it when I was a kid growing up in Canada. We didn't have TV. In fact, I didn't have TV till I was a junior in high school. So I was a radio fan. And for me to be on radio was, wow. I am what I used to listen to.
Exactly.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I think I just got my first scoop. You're Canadian originally?
No,
but you grew up in Canada.
No, I lived there for 6 years. I was born in Oklahoma.
Okay.
I'm an Okie.
Okay, we'll let it slide.
From Claremore. Ever heard of Claremore, Oklahoma? Will Rogers country.
Really?
Yeah, that's where Will Rogers was, where his museum is, where he was born. I lived in his hometown of Oolagaw.
Nice.
When I was a kid.
Wow.
And we moved to Canada when I was 9. I'll give you a little history here.
Okay.
We stayed there through my sophomore year in high school, went to 2 different high schools in Canada, moved back to the States when I was a junior after 6 years up there, went to my junior year of high school, started my senior year in Madisonville, Kentucky, left after 1 semester, and graduated in Boonville, Indiana. So there's 4 high schools in 4 years.
Wow.
I wouldn't want to do that over again, but I'm glad I did now.
Absolutely. And why do you say that? Because it gave you the ability
to... It
made you pliable.
Yeah. It makes you get used to new things. You don't get stuck in the same, like I kind of got stuck here, but that was my own choosing.
True.
That may be because I moved around so much as a kid that when I finally found a spot I liked, I stayed here.
Tell us, how'd you get stuck here? What was your first job here?
My first job here was 1966. I was invited to come interview for a job. I was working at KDKD in Clinton at the time. I worked there for 4.5 years. And I got a phone call one day. You remember Johnny Nace?
Mm-hmm.
Johnny was one of the disc jockeys here, worked the afternoon shift, but he used to listen to me on KDKD all the time, and he kept telling the manager up here, hey, you need to call this guy at KDKD and ask him to come work with us.
Yeah.
And they did. I turned him down the first time.
Why? Why'd you turn him down?
The facility was pretty bad. It really was. The old building we used to have, which I don't know if you remember or not, where the Bilo parking lot is right now.
Yes.
Remember that building?
Yeah.
It was like 4 rooms. Everything was crammed into 4 rooms.
Yeah.
And it was a mess. And I said, I don't want to work there. And they called me back and talked me into it about a month later. I've been here ever since.
Thank goodness for that. Wait.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you.
Okay.
In your 51 years behind the mic, somewhere around that, I may be off a year or
54.
two. 50. Okay. I took some away from you. Sorry.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you. And this is not at all the highlights. These are some of the highlights or some of the big news items. In 1968, Martin Luther King was assassinated. In 69, Neil Armstrong walked on the moon. In 69, we also saw Woodstock. The 60s and 70s brought Vietnam. 89, the Berlin Wall fell. One of my favorites in 1992, Johnny Carson signed off.
Yeah.
September 11th, 2001, the Twin Towers fall. 2009, the United States inaugurates its first African-American president, Barack Obama. In your 50-plus years, what are the events that happened on your watch that you remember, that you took a beat on, and you said, this is history, and this is how I'm going to present it to Johnson County?
The biggest one, the one that tears me up, President got shot. Kennedy.
Yep.
I was by myself at the radio station in Clinton at the time. I got a phone call from a friend of mine who said, you might want to check your AP wire because the president just got shot in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
And it was about 3 to 4 days of covering that on a local little bitty radio station with no network at the time for us there, that we had to do it. And I'd only been in radio then a little over a year. But to sit and talk about that, reading wire copy and just killing time, played no music.
Yeah.
That was one of the toughest things I ever did. The Challenger blew up. I was sitting right here in this chair where I am right now. The TV behind you was sitting over here in this corner. And I saw it. We were watching it. Well, what?
Yeah.
I saw that happen.
I was at Ridgeview watching when that happened.
Were you really?
100%.
What was then? The Twin Towers. I saw that. In 2001, sitting here in this studio, somebody called and said a plane just flew into one of the Twin Towers in New York. We whipped the TV on, and here, at about that time, here came the second plane into that.
Well, how do you go back on, quote unquote, in those instances when you, as a broadcaster, you'd rather probably shut the door and walk out of here and have a good cry like everybody else, but you have to go on and be Woody, and you have to be a reassuring voice for this part of America. How do you, and the same with President Kennedy, how do you go on and be reassuring when you can't even reassure yourself in all reality?
That was tough. I don't know how you do that. You just do. You just have. You remember Walter Cronkite?
Absolutely.
You've seen that, where he was very emotional. Well, so was I.
Yeah.
You can't. I still am when I talk about that.
And I think that's one of the things that, to answer my own question, I think that is one of the ways that you do reassure your audience, because you are organic, and in those moments you have emotions.
We're people too.
Exactly. Well, I will get on to a maybe more fun subject.
Everything you mentioned there, I recall. Everything you mentioned there, and a lot more.
What a great almanac or encyclopedia of the world as it's unfolding in front of your microphone.
Yeah.
In 1974, you were named Billboard Small Market Air Personality of the Year.
How'd you know that?
Hey, you know what? I got a crack research team of one. Goes by the name of Grant Curtis. But it's a good research team. Where's that award now? And how did it feel? How did it feel to win that award?
Very surprising. Totally surprised. I'll give you a little history of that. Billboard magazine every year back in those days asked DJs around the country through their magazine, record an hour of your program, telescope it, cut all the garbage out, all the songs, and make it sound complete, but missing a lot of the extra stuff you don't need in there, so we hear what you're doing.
You're real.
Yeah. So I spent a lot of time editing an hour of my program one day and sent it to Billboard magazine. That was in 1973. I got a call from Claude Hall at the time, who ran the contest for Billboard out of Los Angeles. He called me and he said, "You're one of our finalists. We want you to fly to L.A."
Wow.
That was 1973. That was the year before they divided it up between small market and large market. And I'm not sure where the divide was the following year in 1974. But I was the only small market guy in 1973. Everybody else was, I remember a guy from Miami nominated, and he was a former Sedalia resident.
Really?
Yeah. Can't remember his name right now, but he was from Sedalia. Worked at WIND, I believe. No, WO something or other. Anyway, in Miami.
Yeah.
He worked in Miami. The other guys were L.A., New York, Chicago, Houston or Dallas, whichever was in Texas, and me.
As it should be.
I think, what in the world? And another guy was from L.A., wasn't Robert W. Morgan, but it was some other big guy in L.A. And so I flew out there. My first time I'd ever flown on the biggest plane in the world, a Lockheed 1011 or something like that. I don't know. It was looked to me like 20 seats wide. That was the biggest thing in the world. Anyway, the first time I'd ever flown. And I go to L.A. I get out of the airport, or off the plane, out of the airport, and I'm standing on the sidewalk waiting for a cab to take me to Beverly Hills Hotel, where they had this deal.
Still do.
Yeah. So I got a taxi driver. He looks at me and says, "Who are you?" And I just said, I'm nobody. I just come to town for a ceremony out at the Beverly Hills Hotel. And he says, and he starts telling me who's been in his cab that day. And it was a bunch of people I'd heard of before, actors, actresses, whoever. And so I told him what I was there for. And he thought that was a big deal. I mean, I was somebody to him anyway.
Absolutely.
And he was a cab driver from New York, working L.A.,
Yeah.
which was, I thought, kind of funny. I didn't win. It was just a trip to L.A., and I was back home by midnight that night in bed in my own home.
Were you
Well, yeah, I flew out there, did the thing, jumped on a plane, came right back home.
Oh, my.
I didn't even stay all night. The next year, I got another call. You're a finalist again. This was 1974. But they had split it from large to small markets. So that's why mine says small market DJ of the year, whatever it says.
Yeah.
And I won it that year as a small market. I couldn't compete with the big guys.
You can compete with anybody, my
No,
friend.
I couldn't compete with the big. That's kind of why I'm still here, I think. I might have cut myself a little short. I don't know. I just didn't think I could compete with the big guys.
I think you can compete with anybody you want to.
I just stayed here.
Now, did they put you on a round trip when you won? Did they?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. No, I had to stay all night.
Well, one of these days you
I
might come out and stay a week.
I flew into New York to LaGuardia, stayed all night at the Holiday Inn at LaGuardia. Mm-hmm. I think it was a Holiday Inn there. And then the next morning caught a cab to the Plaza Hotel. Got to meet and talk to Gary Owens in the lobby because he was hosting the program. He's the one who presented me my trophy. It's sitting right in the next room, by the way, if you want to see it sometime.
Right after this. It's the first place I'm going.
Yeah, it's there by my desk. Probably covered with dust.
Well, there's two questions.
I'm sorry I took so long to answer that.
No, are you kidding? That was a beautiful story. Two answers back to back. Both are going to involve math on my part, so I apologize in advance. As Coach Mills will tell you, and my friend Tim Nimmer, my wife, I'm not the most mathematically gifted person, so you may have to, or I may have to check my numbers after this. But here's the question: you were the Mules football, Mules basketball, and Ginny's basketball public address announcer for over 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
Conservatively, you've called over 900 games for the University of Central Missouri. What are your most memorable sports moments?
Ooh.
Yeah, it's an unfair question. It's like asking your favorite child. But stream of consciousness, what are those moments that just pop out to you?
You know, most of the moments I can recall even are before I started doing that, of just sitting in the stands watching. When the Mules, when the Mules won the national championship in, what was it, 84?
Roughly, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was 84. I wasn't doing it. I didn't start doing it till I think the following year, I believe it was, somewhere along in there. So I wasn't a part of that national championship team. However, I was the last time they won 3 years ago, before Coach Henderson left to go to Mizzou.
True.
That would have to be a highlight, I guess. I called games for a national championship team.
Yeah.
That would be a
special moment.
Yeah, that's a special moment. I can't recall any really special things in football.
And do
really
you think that partially becomes when you, not that it's a job, because I realize it's a job and a passion and everything in between, but does your brain? I watched the Chiefs game yesterday. I watched the Patriots game during the flight. I'm able to go into an entertainment mode where I'm being entertained. When you're there, you're being entertained, but you're working and you're setting the stage for the people in the stands. Is that partially why you think maybe nothing pops out, because your brain is you're in a different zone? Does that make any sense, or am I just?
Yeah, it does. It makes sense. Yeah, you are. You have to. You're pretty.
And to a degree, you're also supposed to be gray. You're not supposed to be.
Can't.
Yeah, when there's a dunk or when there's a great touchdown, you can't go wild because
I could.
Really?
Yeah.
Because you were the UCM.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Wow.
It wasn't like it was a network broadcast or anything like that. I was in the gym doing it for our teams, and I could do a little extra emphasis when we made a three or.
So you might have been the sixth man and the audience the seventh man. So hey, that's a
no. So you could do a little bit of that, yeah. And we used to say things for the Mules football team like, it's third down, Mules fans. It's time for a little, help here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We were talking about this last time. Speaking of the '80s championship team, one of my memories, it wasn't even on the court per se, was when Ray Strozier was playing, and during halftime, his nephew came down and danced with the mule kickers, and that did not make his uncle happy at all. But great memories in that gym.
Me too.
Another question with math, so apologies in advance again.
You've done some homework, or haven't you?
I have, of course. Come on. Conservatively, you've spent 7 hours a day on air, approximately 50 years, 260 days a year, give or take. That is over 91,000 hours on air. With weekends, overtime, etc., my guess is you're at 100,000 hours plus. And you answered some of this already with September 11th, with Kennedy, with the Mules. What's the most memorable moment you've had on the air? Again, unfair.
This?
No, come on.
Hey, this has got to be up there. Seriously.
Well,
I just could not believe you'd want to do this. Just see, I carry you a little high, as they say in the South. I do.
Carry me a little bit lower, and then maybe we'll find someplace in between.
I think,
and call it even.
Geez, this is Grant Curtis. Grant Curtis produced the Spider-Man movies and other stuff.
You are a voice of multiple generations, though. I'll never be that.
Why won't you? There will be people who see your movies 50 years from now.
Yeah, but I'm one of an incredible team that goes and makes a movie.
That's all I am here.
You're part of an incredible team, but you are also the voice of this city, of this county. That's it's a little bit like I'm on a football team, you're playing tennis. I mean, that's the way I see it, and that's why it's such an honor, and that's why I understand your analogy, but it's a little off if I do if with all due respect.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's it in a nutshell. But
okay.
That's how I see it. So the honor is all mine. Okay, here's another lighter question. In those roughly 100,000 hours, give or take, what's your go-to bathroom song? When you're played music and you need an extra 5 minutes, what was your go-to over the 50 years?
I can remember one when I was.
Or you have to take a phone call. I didn't mean to make it about a bathroom question. Or you have to take a phone call.
Oh, yeah, bathroom, a phone. This was about a bathroom.
Yes.
Anytime we had
perfect.
To
go.
There
Sorry
was
to cut you off.
many years ago. There was an old record by I don't remember how long it was. Sons of the Pioneers. Believe that?
Yes.
That was like 5 minutes long, and back in the '60s, that was a long record.
Of course.
And I forget even what the song was now, but that's one you would play. It was some song by the Sons of the Pioneers. I can't remember the name of it now. We had at one time, too, here, an emergency song. If I was out driving around, turned on Coco, and there was this song playing, that meant get to the station.
Did it really?
Yeah. We used to have that.
So that was your beeper before beepers.
Yeah, that's what it was. If that song ever played, there was something going on at the station that somebody needed your assistance.
Do you remember what it was, or is it confidential?
No, I have no idea.
Yeah. And did it change, or depend on like the 60s with this?
No, it was just the same song, but I don't remember what it was. I really don't.
Yeah.
I'm getting old,
cool.
so
No,
I forget that stuff.
But, how long have beepers been around now? How long have other... That's a very cool fact.
Yeah, we did. We had a song we would play that was the emergency song.
What's the best piece of it? We have the luxury of being in the backyard of a great University of Central Missouri. There are radio, print, television, wannabe journalists over there. What's your best piece of advice for the aspiring person who wants to do what you do and have a career that you've had?
Go to school at UCM. They got a great program for that right over here at the university. The guys that work hard at it over there too.
They're great at it.
Yeah, they are. Come see us.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody's welcome. Come and see what we do. See what it's about. Talk to me.
Exactly. What a treat. What an opportunity.
Yeah, that's that simple. I like to talk to kids, I'll call them, about what I've done, what I do, why it's not the same as it used to be. Not at all. Your brother worked here, Lance, years and years ago.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We had a turntable here, a turntable over here, and you had a rope around your neck, not literally, but you couldn't walk out of the room because when that record ended here, you had to be here to start this turntable over here.
I remember watching.
So that one, you remember watching that? Every time anything would end, there was a button that had to be pushed to start something else. And now it all comes right out of the computer, right out of the hard drive. Boom. Just turn the computer on, there it goes.
What's the next 10 years hold for radio journalism, you think? With kind of what you're talking about now, the changes you've seen.
Yeah, and there's not too much local anymore. The problem is, let me give you an idea. Back in 60s and 70s, we had one station. It was just Coco. We didn't have our sister FM. I was the general manager at that time, and we had 17 to 18 people, part-time, full-time, sales staff, sports, whatever. There's 17, 18 payroll checks that had to be written every 2 weeks. Now, with two stations, what do we have? Maybe seven or eight, something like that. I haven't bothered to count it. But we don't have near the staff anymore. So that cuts down the possibilities for people doing what I do.
Yeah.
I used to have a stack of applications on my desk. If we came up short and I needed work, I'd just sort through the application, call a few people, come in for an interview, and we don't have that anymore.
Wow.
There's no training ground anymore. Everybody who used to come to UCM who had an interest in radio would stop by here when they came to town, drop their application off, and I kept a stack of them. I could hire people I needed. Can't do that now. I think at the university there's some folks over there who will send people our way who are qualified maybe to at least come in and do something for us, and that happens.
Well, here's my question on that end. In my profession, there's similarities. There's less studio movies being made every year, less opportunity.
More indies?
Yes. Is there an indie radio? Like you said, you had a stack of applicants.
Yeah.
Now on the film side, there's still a lot of movies being made every year, and if the studios are making less, then indies pick up the slack or have more opportunity there. Equally tough to do an indie movie, but it doesn't make it any easier. But is there independent radio or radio with the internet that guys and gals who normally would have been in that stack that there's not the place for them now on the radio? Do they have an opportunity to get on the internet and not start a pirate radio station?
No.
But,
there is a lot of that right now. I'm not sure how successful they are or whether they make any money at it or not. But a lot of people recording stuff that appears on the internet, both audio and video. It pops up there all the time. Some of it is paid for. Some of it has commercials. Yeah. And that would be the only thing I could think of. Do you agree with that or not?
I do. It's harder. It's harder. There is less opportunity.
There's not nearly as much opportunity now as there used to be. Yeah. And I've met some of the greatest people in the world working here too. I mean, really.
What are the names that come to mind?
Eric Muller.
Of course.
Mancow, you knew him, I think. Yep. Don't you know him?
Absolutely.
There's a guy that works in Dallas right now. He goes by the name J.D. Ryan on a Dallas radio station, works for CBS. His name was John Bibbs. He used to work here. Yep. I don't remember John or not.
I don't. That name doesn't. That name is not as familiar for me as Eric is.
Oh golly, some people in Kansas City radio right now that used to work here. There's a Mary McKenna.
Of course.
Yeah, remember her?
Yep.
Marlene, I can't think of her last name, works in the news department on a TV station in Kirksville. Yeah. Oh, God.
They always talk about the Bill Belichick coaching tree. My friend, your radio tree is quite impressive. That is...
but I can't... my mind is going blank on them now. I can't think of some of who these people are. But there are a lot of them out there. A lot of people... guy that works mornings at KCMO-FM, Dick Wilson. Used to work here years ago, back in the 60s. Remember Dick?
I could sit here and talk to you all day, but I'm going to get yanked here in a second, I'm sure.
No, I'm going to let you go as long as you want to go.
Well, here is then maybe this may or may not be my last question for you.
Okay.
Behind every great man, there is a great family. How have they had an impact on your journey? Because they've taken this journey with you. Every morning rose and came in here. They were part of that ride.
Oh, well, golly, my wife and I have been married since about day one. I started in radio March 17th of 1962. I think it was 62. Yeah, and we got married April 7th, very shortly after that. So she's had the entire ride with me. I mean, it's been with making a lot of times no money. I mean, she made more money than I did in the beginning. Yeah. Seriously. Her job paid her more money than mine when we got married. I was doing this on faith in the beginning. And I'm going to tell you the truth. I was so bad. I was on a 3-month trial when I got hired. I was driving a Coke truck when I got hired, delivering Coke to the radio station at Clinton. I got to know the manager there. One day I said to him, if he ever gets an opening here, I'd sure rather do that than deliver Coke. That's a hard job. I don't envy those guys. It's a hard job.
Backbreaking.
Oh, carrying those cases, bad. Anyway, 2 weeks later, he stops me on the street and says, hey, I got an opening. Why don't you come talk to me? I did. I've been doing this ever since. That's how I got my first start in it. But I was so bad, he says, I'll start you on a 3-month trial period. So I gave up a job that was making me some decent money for a job that wasn't going to make me anything, looking 20, 30 years down the road, whether I could make the score or not.
If you were so bad, did you ever think about hanging up the mic?
Oh, I did. When I first started, I was still living at home with my mom and dad. I was 21. It was awful.
Yeah.
I was awful. I couldn't do it.
And what made you get in the chair every morning and get behind that mic and say, you know what?
I had to.
Somebody's got to be on
I
here.
gave up everything else to do this.
Yeah.
I had to.
When did you know it was clicking?
When they kept me on after 3 months, I guess. No, I tell you, when I probably realized it is when I got the call to come to work here. Well, actually, some before that. I actually had a call from a radio station in Kansas City while I was still at KDKD. They wanted me to come to work for them in Kansas City. It was a country station. But they wasn't going to let me give any notice. This was right about this time of year, right before Christmas. Mm-hmm. The week before Christmas, I got a call, and they wanted me to come to work for them. But I need you yesterday, the guy says. I'm sorry, I'm not quitting any job without giving my obligatory 2 weeks' notice.
Of course.
I'm not going to do that. He says, well, it's too bad. I said, okay. And that was the last I've heard of that.
Really?
Maybe that was an indication that maybe I had something going.
Yeah.
I did get a job offer there. I got a job offer once from Boston, a guy named Bill Rock.
How did he hear? How did your reel?
This was after the '74 trophy.
Nice.
He called me and thought maybe I might want to work for him. I looked up information on his station, and it had one of those directional towers arrays where like 95% of the signal was to the sharks in the Atlantic Ocean.
They're good listeners.
And then it had like the figure 8, little bitty little circle here and a great big circle here, and all this big circle was out in the water. The rest of it was just Boston.
Yeah.
And that was it. And I said, I don't think so.
I think you made a good choice.
Yeah, I did. I made a great choice staying right here.
Yeah.
I did. It's been great for me.
On your radio broadcasting Mount Rushmore, who are the faces on there? Who do you look up to as a broadcaster, as a journalist, as an entertainer?
Oh, golly. Walter Cronkite would be one. I used to watch him watch the Do the News every night.
Me too.
This is the guy I watched. I liked Dan Rather, too, when Dan Rather took over for Walter Cronkite. Yeah. Johnny Carson.
Oh, yeah.
Carson was a hero of mine. I liked Dick Cavett.
Yep.
Gary Owens, who started in radio in Nebraska, I think, a little station in Nebraska. There were some guys that worked at WLS in Chicago I listened to every night. John Rickards Landecker, remember that guy or not? No?
I don't.
No, yeah. Some of the big names that worked in the 50,000 waters all around the country, I used to try to pick up all the time and steal stuff from them. Yeah.
Is there any sports voice, like from your childhood when you were tuning in on that radio, that you look back on now?
Sports voice?
Yeah, when
Chris Schenkel, remember now?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to watch bowling all the time. I liked to bowl.
So did I.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Chris Schenkel usually did the Saturday afternoon bowling on ABC.
Incredible voice.
Yeah.
And my point being, I have lived the last 20 years in Los Angeles, and I've had the wonderful opportunity of Vin Scully. And hearing that voice. I was just curious, when you were a kid, who was on your dial. But Chris Schenkel's a great one.
Yeah. Buddy Blattner.
Where was Buddy out of?
Buddy Blattner, Al Helfer, Art Gleason, and Dizzy Dean rotated on Mutual's Game of the Day, doing baseball games every day on Mutual. They would rotate. There was Mutual's Game of the Day when I was a kid living in Canada, and I listened to a station out of Minot, North Dakota, broadcast baseball games all the time.
I didn't know after Dizzy's playing career he became a broadcaster.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he was a big-time broadcaster.
Really?
Yeah. He worked with Al Helfer quite a bit. Buddy Blattner worked with Dizzy Dean a lot, too.
Really?
Yeah. And Blattner, of course, was the first announcer the Royals hired. He and Denny Matthews. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Denny Matthews remains to this day.
Oh, yeah. Still there today. Yeah. I like Denny. I've met and visited with Denny and people he works with. Yeah.
How long are you going to keep doing this?
Someday they'll kick me out.
I don't think they'll ever kick you out.
Someday they'll want to kick me out. Yeah, probably. I don't know. I don't even think about it.
It's the best way.
I'll tell you what. A couple of years ago, I did say something to my wife. I said, 50 years that Coco's coming up here for long. That might be just kind of a good time to. And she tells me, "You're going to have to work till you die to support your golf habit." That's a quote from her.
What's your low round?
66.
Shot where?
Hidden Pines Country Club.
Nice.
Did that. This year, late summer.
60. You shot 66 this year?
Yeah, and I'm 75 years old.
That's a heck of a game, man. I'm not putting my money on me playing you. Wow, good stuff.
No, I play so much. I play about every day when the weather's good. I play every day.
Yeah.
And you get luckier. The more you play, the luckier you get. So I love to play golf. That's what I do. I go to work in the morning. I play golf in the afternoon and every weekend.
Any holes in ones in your past? 3.
3, I think. I saw something recently where something said I had 4, but I don't remember but 3.
Yeah. I'd take 1. So
yeah, I've had at least 3, and it might be 4.
Nice.
Yeah, I've had a albatross once.
Really? What's an albatross?
That's a 2 on a par 5.
Wow.
Second shot flew in the hole.
Really?
Flew and didn't even touch the green. Flew in the hole and stayed. Normally they'll come out.
Yeah. That's impressive. And by the way, I apologize because all of my math, as poor as I'm in math and as incredible as all those numbers are, your numbers are even more impressive because I was taking it from 1966 and you started in 1962. So all those hours I was quoting.
Oh, yeah. More than that. Huh?
The Mules and Jennies football, I think I'm roughly in the zone on that. But
well, I did Mules football for 30 years.
Yeah.
And basketball for 28. Yeah.
Very impressive career, my friend.
Well, it's been a good run.
It's been a great run.
Yeah, it's been good.
Well, here's to another 50 years. And, I started off our conversation with telling you what a pleasure and an honor is, and it just continues to grow. My appreciation for you, my admiration for you, and I do absolutely hope that Warrensburg and Johnson County understands the true honor and the true game changer they wake up to every morning, because you're the real deal, and the real deals don't come around every day. So my thank you to you.
You're welcome.
All right.
Thank you.
You're off the hot seat.
Okay. You didn't treat me too badly.
No.
Thank you. Grant Curtis, ladies and gentlemen, visiting with us here on Johnson County Today, an extended portion of it.